Hey everybody, welcome. I wanted to go over a few things for this week and the upcoming weeks as we get closer and closer to the end of the semester in ENC 1102. I know that I just finished going over the proposals for the argument paper and that there had been some confusion previously about what was actually due this week. So I want to apologize in advance for that. I had put the argument paper assignment really visibly in the module so that you could be looking at it on spring break because it is the biggest paper that we're doing this semester, but we're going to be turning in pieces as we go. So this week, last week, the only thing due was the proposal, and then there will be additional pieces. You will get feedback on each of them, and then you will have the final version of that paper due towards the very end of the semester. So I want to just like go over what's due when, all that good stuff, and remind you that you want to make sure that you're using the modules, that you're not just immediately going over to the little check off to-do list and picking something to work on. The assignment itself, the argument paper itself, isn't due until April 24th. So we have a little while. Well, 22 days to be exact. So I'm going to share and we're going to take a look at the course. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about with you guys is the research. Many of you turned in bibliographies as you were asked to, but a lot of you had only used websites, and that is not going to be in your best interest long term. We do need to be using good library-oriented resources for this paper, especially. It doesn't all have to be from the library, and many of you found good, reputable websites, but you need to be doing research that is not, excuse me, 100% web-based. So we'll talk about that a little as well. Before we get into that, though, let's scroll down and take a look at the schedule. So we have entered week 5, and this week you're going to be turning in a presentation, something a little bit different, something a little bit more fun. At least it's fun for me, because I don't have to grade a research paper. So that's always a good thing. So we'll talk about that assignment. And then next week, you're going to submit the actual full draft of your argument paper to both me and to your classmates. You're going to do some peer reviews. And then you have the following week to turn in the actual final version of that. So you'll get feedback from me, you'll get feedback from at least 1 or 2 classmates, and then you can make any final changes. So your argument paper is due on Wednesday, the 24th. You can certainly turn it in before that. And then we do have a final quote unquote exam. It's not really an exam, it's more of a self-reflection that is due on the 28th. And then the semester is over. So we don't have a lot of stuff left to do. Essentially, you've got one more reading discussion, and you've got, of course, finishing up the argument paper as well as this week's presentation. So if we go over to the modules and scroll down to week 5, let's take a look at what we are working on this week. So in week 5, of course, we're going to be doing some argument related activities in focusing on the problem of logical fallacies, because knowing how to spot a fallacy is going to make you a better consumer and a better critical thinker when it comes to people trying to convince you to do something. And so we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. So this module, you do have some overviews and definitions of logical fallacies. You can explore as many of those as you want. You are going to be picking some specific fallacies to focus on in your presentation. And there's some videos that you can check out as well. So there's a lot of good resources there. With this new knowledge, of course, you're going to be creating a brief presentation to share, and you're going to share it on the discussion board, which means that everybody, including me, will be able to see all the presentations. And I know that people get really nervous about doing a quote unquote presentation, but I promise you, it is not going to be that high stress of a situation. I did also include a guide for recording your presentations, which is a video, and you guys will want to watch that. I'm not obviously going to play it for you now because it's 20 minutes long almost, but you will want to watch that as one of the materials for this week. Then it's going to be time to actually do the presentation. So fun with fallacies. Here's the discussion board. You're going to post your video presenting definitions and examples of 3 logical fallacies. And then, of course, you don't have to respond to others, but you can get a bonus if you do. If you have 3 or more thoughtful responses, you will receive the bonus. It's either all or nothing. So if you just say great presentation, you're not getting the extra points. So use your common sense there. All right, so let's take a look at the assignment. In week 5, learners will prepare a brief 3 to 5 minute presentation to share using the discussion board tool in Canvas. Learners may choose to record in PowerPoint, Zoom, or Kaltura. And I show you exactly how to do that in that video. What do you need to include? You do need to have some kind of a PowerPoint or Google Slides. You can use a different kind of presentation software if you want, but you're going to have a presentation visual. So you should have a title slide and a works cited slide. Now, how many body slides you have in between is entirely up to you. I would argue that you're going to have at least 3 because you have 3 fallacies that you're going to cover, but you can certainly have more than 3 slides in the middle if you want. Say you want to put a visual on one and text on another, or the definition on one slide and some example on the other. So it's entirely up to you how you want to do that, but you will have at least 5 slides in your presentation. When you are recording this presentation, you must also be visible. It is just like you were giving a presentation in class. So you can do that directly in PowerPoint. You can record directly in PowerPoint. You can record using Zoom, which of course you guys have seen. That's what I do 90% of the time is I use Zoom to record presentations. And then you can save it either to the cloud or on your computer, or you can use Kaltura, which is built into Canvas. So again, instructions for how to do that are in that other video. What are you going to include? Choose 3 of the most common logical fallacies from the list below. You can include different ones if you find, because there's a bunch more than the ones that are on this list. So if there's something else you want to cover, that's fine. But these are the most common. So I think most people will just pick from these. You will need to cite the sources you're using, so make sure to note which source or sources you use in identifying both the definition and the example. And yes, that does include the learning materials from our actual course. So you can get the definitions from us. You don't have to get a completely separate website for that or whatever, but you do need to make sure that you are citing those sources. So I've got a bunch of ones to choose from there. And then, of course, as I mentioned, you are not required to respond to others, but you are encouraged to do so. When you are ready, you're going to click on reply and you're going to put your video in here. Now, there's a number of ways that you can embed the video into this particular, into a discussion board. One, of course, is just to drop the file in there. The other is if you've put it on YouTube, which is what I normally do, you can get the embed code and embed it. If you want to record directly in Kaltura, that's what this little colorful symbol is. You can do that. You can also upload a video using this icon right here. Okay, so that's what you're going to do, and then you're going to post the reply. All right. So, with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the research for your argument papers. and also making sure that you are locating the correct citation when you are using the library for research. So we're going to click on the library link, and it's going to make me log in, of course. All right, so when you are searching the library, you can use this very rudimentary box. Just looks like a Google box, but you're not searching the internet, you're searching the things that the library owns and has paid for. The reason you want to do library research and not just Google things is because you are getting things that have been published by reputable sources. And it doesn't mean that there's not reputable sources that are published on the internet. There absolutely are. But especially as you advance in your academic careers, you're going to need to be doing academic research, and that does mean using the library. Now, if I just click something, if I just search for something in this box, I am looking at everything. I'm looking at books, I'm looking at videos, I'm looking at magazine articles, I'm looking at journal articles, I'm looking at all kinds of wonderful things. And that's certainly fine. I tend to try to limit my search a little bit more than that, just because I want to be aware of what I'm looking at. So one of the things that you may want to do as you are learning how to research is to use some of the very specific databases. When we are searching databases, you are looking for articles that have been printed in something larger, like a journal or a magazine or a newspaper. And those can be very helpful because they're fairly short and digestible. If you're looking at books, of course, an ebook on a particular topic could be 300-400 pages long. They are searchable, so books are not the most horrible kind of source. But typically, when you're doing academic research, you are going to want to focus on articles. And so databases A to Z will allow you to choose the databases that you are searching. And you certainly can do that. In fact, let me just click on that page so I can show you that the most featured databases over here are some of the ones that I would highly suggest using. The top three being Academic OneFile, Academic Search Complete, and then Opposing Viewpoints. Because we are doing argumentative papers, our Opposing Viewpoints is a great resource because in the topics that it explores, it gives you both sides of the issue. But I'm going to just do a quick search in Academic Search Complete just to demonstrate. And I'm going to put mindfulness. That was a common one. And let's do college students. You can be as specific or as general in your searches as you want, but the more specific you can be, the better your results are going to be and the fewer that you're going to have to wade through. So for example, I just pulled up 817. I'm going to also say I only want to see full text. So that's going to limit it a little bit further down to 436. I'm also going to limit it to the last, say, 10 years. You don't even really have to go back that far. I think you could go back 5 years and be fine. And that took us down to 381. We are mostly seeing at the top of the results list, we are seeing a lot of academic journal articles, and those are great, but oftentimes those are written at a very high level and may or may not be as helpful to us as something that is written in a more popular periodical, such as a magazine. Just for the sake of looking at it, I'm going to click on the 3 that are from magazines, and we have 3 articles. Now, granted, typically, if you need 3 articles, you want to look at more than 3 articles, but this is just a good example to show how to pull these up. All right, so let's pick this one. I like it. We're going to click on the link, and we're going to be able to read the full text over here where it says PDF full text. We are also going to be able to get the actual MLA citation from this button over here called Cite. we would scroll down and we would pick the MLA citation, and I would copy that, and then I will paste it into my Word document, and I will merge the formatting so that I can keep the italics, or I will need to go back in and add italics to University Business and EBSCOhost. So this is a correct citation. All right, I want to show you one problem area. Okay, so let's go back to the main library search, and let's put in all right, so when I search in the main box, I'm going to find all kinds of stuff. Here's an article, here's a book, here's an article, here's an article. And I can do the exact same thing. One, I want to make sure that I can see it online because I'm doing this search at the, last second, as most of us do. I also want to make sure that I am limiting it. I definitely don't need anything from 1921. I'm going to put in 2018. And we're going to refine that. That took me down to 13,000 something, almost 14,000 results. I did mention, oh, I didn't apply that filter. Sorry. That may help a little bit too. Nope. 13,875. I can be specific about what I want to look at. If I know I want to look at ebooks, then I can definitely only look at books. I can say, okay, well, let me look at the resource type, and I want to look specifically at books. And I want to show you this because this kind of shows an interesting dilemma with the Florida college library system. It has not got anything to do with our library. It is a college-wide issue. So let's just click on the first one, okay? One of the things that is dangerous about the library, and again, it's not our library, it's the entire state system, is that it shows you this button right here that says citation. This button is wrong. Do not click it. Do not click it. You need to actually open it in order to get the correct citation. So we're going to click on the link, which will take us to the actual source. We can go through here. We can look at all the table of contents. We can view the ebook. We can read it. We could read it cover to cover if we wanted to. We can search within the publication, but this is where you want to pull the citation from. And MLA is the first one. This is the correct citation. So you would copy this and put it in your works cited list. Okay. Now, the other thing you should be aware of when you are looking at a source like this is that you will find that you are looking at a page just like you would in a regular book. So we can cite the very specific page number. We can cite the specific, in this case, the specific article that this comes from. Notice that this took us to a new citation. So you want to use the most specific citation that you can. This particular article was on page 115 and 116, and it even shows you what is on what page. So if I had a quote from this paragraph, for example, I would have the author's name, which was Adamek, and the page number, which is 115. So when you have those in-text citations, which is going to be the next big challenge, you would be able to include the most specific information. Mostly what I want to tell you about the library is that there is a reason this box comes up. It is absolutely 100% possible to get real help from real librarians as you are doing your research. So please do not hesitate to use that tool, but definitely you need to incorporate at least a few library resources into your argument paper. So be aware of that as we're going forward, and I will look forward to the rough drafts next week, not this week, but next week.